Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakar Qudash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, salutations, and blessings be unto the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the globe, in the sincere hopes of being delivered in these last days. Alright, this is the brother Yakanan from the GMS England branch. I want to do a brief lesson inspired by this clip that you see here on the screen. This is taken from a YouTube page by the name of Actual Coverage. I just came across it, a few days ago. Now, as you can see, the title is Digital ID, Jeff Taylor. If you opt out, they will come for you. Okay? And this was uploaded on the 12th of November, 2025. And this protest where the brief interview is taking place was in central London, as you can see here in the location stamp on the right-hand side. And he said a lot of interesting things in this clip that, provoked many scriptures, to come to mind. All right. And as you can see, the main conversation, the main talking points on the earth right now, especially over here in the UK, is digital ID, social credit system, so on and so forth. So we in that time. All right. We are in that time that we've been constantly warning you about through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right. Now, without further delay, I'm going to play segments of this interview. All right. And as the spirit wills, we'll get into a few scriptures. All right.
Sort of pension you've got, and if you want to open a bank account, if you want to even enter into a shopping precinct, the whole thing is just going to turn into swiping your card at every corner of the street for safety, for your safety, so we know where you are. And how long before that the grid is so controlled that you won't even have to swipe a card? You'll just walk and you'll be tracked. Yeah, whatever it might be. Some people that...
So he said it's going to get to the point, they're talking about how draconian and how oppressive, the system is eventually going to get when, this digital ID, takes full form, full effect, okay? Which is going to be very quick, all right? As soon as that tech is out there and it's being utilized on a higher level, all right, by the masses, you're going to see how quickly and how speedily the system is going to become more oppressive and more draconian with the measures in place, okay? You're going to see how quickly, Esau Edom turns up the heat once he has that tech out there, all right? And again, it's going to lead to what? The MOTB, the Revelation 13 and 16. And as the guy on the screen said, you'll be attracted, well, let's get it. Let me actually play it again.
Grid is so controlled that you won't even have to swipe a card. You'll just walk and you'll be tracked. Yeah, whatever it might be. Some people that...
He said you'll just walk and you'll be tracked. Okay, but we understand, because we have the truth, that you'll be tracked ultimately via the MOTB, all right, that mark spoken of in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. That's exactly how you're going to be tracked. That's exactly how they're going to know your whereabouts 24/7, 365. That's exactly how they're going to quantify your whole being, is with that mark, okay, with that implantable device. Okay, but again, we can say this boldly because we have the truth. We have the wisdom, knowledge, and the understanding of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay? For us, it's not a thing of, if or is it really that, or is it this? No, we know it's the micro C hip. That's exactly what it is. But you have a multitude, of individuals out there. Some people will say, oh, well, you've already got it because you got a phone or all of that kind of stuff. But that ain't what it is, all right? The scriptures are clear and the scriptures are plain, concerning the charagma, all right? The word mark in the Greek in Revelation 13 and 16, all right? An incision, a cutting in the flesh, okay? We have countless amounts of videos going into that information, okay?
I just don't have a smartphone, but if you have networks such as 5G, you have facial recognition, you cannot opt out.
Well, no,
You don't need a device.
but the thing is, if you do opt out, the authorities will be looking for people who opt out, so they can get them to opt in forcibly. And that
Right, so that's a key point that he said, all right? If you do opt out, then the authorities will be looking for you enable you to opt in forcibly, okay? Now, that's how it's going to be, with the MOTB, okay? Because the digital ID is not the MOTB, okay? You're not going to be destroyed if you get a digital ID card, but you will be destroyed as pursuing to Revelation 14, okay? It's in Revelation 14 where it gives us the judgment for taking the mark, okay? Which again is the implantable micro C hip, okay? That's the MOTB. And you will be destroyed for taking that, okay? But you won't be destroyed for merely having a digital ID card. But that's why it's very important to understand and to know what the MOTB actually is, okay? You can't blur the lines concerning biblical prophecy, all right? And that's why we've been telling you for the longest time what exactly the MOTB actually is, so you know what to look out for when it is made mandatory upon the earth, because that time is coming, okay? That time is coming where they're going to actually require people to take that mark if you want to function, if you want to exist on the grid. And if you don't, right, you're going to be demonized. You're going to be made a prey. All right, let's get that in the book of Isaiah 59 and verse 15, okay? This is Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 15, and it says, yea, truth faileth, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey. And the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment, okay? So, in this kingdom, all right, the wicked kingdom of Esau, Edom, when you depart from evil, you're making yourself a prey, okay? And that's exactly the scenario that's going to play out for those who reject the MOTB, all right? For those that reject the MOTB system that's in place, you're going to be made a prey. You're going to be put on a list, okay? And for those that they can't break and be made to bow down, which is going to be the elect, as I always quote, the elect is going to have victory over the beast, over his image, and over the mark. For those that, don't bow down, you'll be subject to death, okay? And that's why a part of this thing, is that, you can be beheaded for preaching this truth, okay? And not bowing down, to this beast system and taking that mark, all right? So that's something that we welcome through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and that's something that you must consider, okay? The scriptures say, strive for the truth until death. So that is, ultimately the spirit that you got to be in. But that's a beautiful thing, because that's not the end. You're going to come back with Yahushai upon his return, okay? So just imagine that. Meditate upon that, man. That is not the end. That's actually a blessing to be able to be put in a position where you die for the testimony of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. For this truth. So again, yea, truth faileth, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey. All right? Now that goes hand in hand with what he said. You know, if you opt out, they will come for you. All right? But we apply that to what? The MOTB, the actual mark. All right? If you deny that mark, you're going to be a prey. You're going to be a target. Okay? And we're already a target because we're preaching the truth. We're already a target in this man's system. They know who we are. They know what we preach. They know what we believe. And the elect are going to be unbreakable. The elect are not going to compromise, man. The elect are not going to trim their ways. The elect are going to stay steadfast in this truth. All right? That's why the scriptures say, you know, them that stood stiffly for the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. All right? The elect are going to stand stiffly, are going to be firm until the end, even if death is presented. Okay?
So they can get them to...
Let's go back.
Now, the thing is, if you do opt out, the authorities will be looking for people who opt out so they can get them...
Just like, you know, they had that, you know, when this digital ID was first announced, then you had people set up the, you know, the poll. And then, you know, they put their votes in, you know, for, you know, everyone that was against it, so on and so forth. I can't remember the official name for it. You know, it escapes me right now. But there was over 2.5 million people that voted, you know, against it. But did they hearken? Of course not. They're still going ahead with it. But everyone who voted and made their opinion and their mind state known, you are now documented. Okay, so that was done for a reason. You are now documented. You are now noted down for someone that's against the system. Okay, and someone that's potentially going to be a problem or an obstacle that they need to, you know, basically eradicate, man. Which, yeah, you know, the mass majority of people that, you know, signed that petition, there it is. They came back to me, the petition. All right, you're going to cave in and take that anyway. All right, because, you know, when the heat, you know, is turned up, and when things get real draconian out here, what are you people going to be trusting in? Okay, we're going to be trusting in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai to keep us safe and to preserve us in that time of trouble. Okay.
To opt in forcibly, and that's another fear I have. If someone decides to go and buy a lump of, I've got a lump of land, I'm going to put a caravan on it, I'm going to live there, there's a stream, I'm going to fish, I'm going to raise some chickens. All the authorities have to do is compulsorily buy your property, by compulsory purchase, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And that's it, and that's why, you know, we might as well get it. That's why the scriptures say in Revelation 13 and 16 that he causeth. All right, Revelation 13 and verse 16, and it reads, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Okay, so there's going to be many ways in which he causes people to take this mark. Okay, there's going to be many ways in which people compromise and cast away their integrity, okay, and end up taking the mark, man. Okay, you're going to have, you know, individuals out there with families that they need to feed, crying babies, you know, their woman putting pressure on them. It's even going to happen, to men in the faith. Okay, you're going to have men in the faith that cave in to the beast system through the pressure of the world. All right, and that's why the scriptures warn us, you know, to not entangle ourselves in the affairs of this life. Okay, because we're not of this world. And again, that's why you have to be in a mindset of being ready to die, you know, for this truth. Okay, nothing else matters but staying faithful to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. So again, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, man. So there's going to be many different ways in which this devil causes people to take, you know, this mark and has them compromise and cast away their integrity, man. All right, there's going to be all kind of pressures coming from all kind of directions that's going to make people make that decision and say, I've got to take this. Okay, and again, if you have no faith in Yahweh Shemi Yahushai, you're going to have no option but to take it, man. You know, that's going to be the best option to you, is to take it, because, hey, you know, who you serving? You know?
So, I do wonder where this is going. Total grid control. The trouble is the people who are putting it in place somehow think they'll be immune. But they won't be, because at the end of the day, they will be captured by their very own trap.
And that reminds me of, let's get it, the book of Job. That was a good point that he made, Job chapter 5 and verse 12, all right? Let me rewind that. It's a very good point.
It's the people who are putting it in place somehow think they'll be immune. But they won't be, because at the end of the day, they will be captured by their very own trap.
Right. So he says, you know, the people putting in place somehow think that they're going to be immune, but they're, at the end of the day, you know, they're going to be captured by their very own trap. All right. This is Job chapter 5 and verse 12. And it reads, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. Okay? And in the NLT it says, he frustrates the plans of schemers. So the work of their hands will not succeed. All right? And that's exactly what Yahweh Shemi Yahushai is going to do, you know, to the wicked elites in these last days. He's going to disappoint the devices of the crafty, okay? It's all going to work against them in the end, all right? They're going to be confounded, all right, by their own steps, okay? And there's another one in Job. Let me see if I can remember the wording. It's very vague in my mind, but I know it's in the book of Job. It may be this one. Let me see. Right. This is Job chapter 18 and verse 5. Yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. And in the NLT it says, the confident stride of the wicked will be shortened, their own schemes will be their downfall. Okay? Fawadi Yahweh Shemi Yahushai, I believe that's the one I was thinking about. All right, I'll read that again. The confident stride of the wicked will be shortened. Their own schemes will be their downfall. All right, their own schemes will be their downfall, man. Okay, so this is all playing into the divine will, you know, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shemi Yahushai. As the scriptures say, you can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. All of these necessary evils must play out. Okay, they have to come to pass. This is all part of biblical prophecy, man. Okay? Let's go back a little bit.
The trouble is the people who are putting it in place somehow think they'll be immune. But they won't be, because at the end of the day, they will be captured by their very own trap.
There's a saying, there's no space on the ark, right?
No, yeah.
Well, one of the things, last thing I'll ask about is, so China has this system, and they have a social credit score.
Yeah.
But I think what they'll do here, because they speak about it in the WEF conferences, they'll have a carbon score. So you'll have carbon credits. It'll be based on that metric.
It's carbon credits. It's things like, were you nice to your neighbour credits? And did you say something nasty on social media credits? And if you haven't got those credits that say you're good on social media, you're nice to your parents, you're nice to your neighbours, If you haven't got that, you don't get social credits. Now, that means it doesn't matter how much money you've got in the bank. No social credits, no spendy money. And that is where we're at. Everyone, instead of earning money, will be trying to earn social credits. Think about that.
And that's the system that's coming to the world, okay? And that's the system that's already in operation in China, okay? And that's an unrighteous, wicked system, all right? Now let's get Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1, and we'll close out. This Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1, and it reads, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, they to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and they may rob the fatherless." All right, so the main point being, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees. All right, that is an unrighteous decree. Okay, that is a wicked, unrighteous decree. And in the NLT it says, "What sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws." All right, these are all unfair laws, okay, that they're looking to bring about and enslave the people under, okay? And that's why we need deliverance from Yahushua in these last days, all right? So with that, Lord willing, this lesson has been edifying, and until next time, I'll say shalom.